Dear Nielsen charts, you probably don't have to worry about Agatha all along. With a third episode now under our belt, we can confidently say we have no idea exactly who this is made for, or what kind of species it is that made it. Today we'll show you and tell you exactly how bad Marvel is damaging itself with Agatha all along, a show on Disney Plus that is headed straight for Willow territory. Let me give as best I can, the recap, and we'll be joined by more panelists. I know that Ron is coming, and Lauren Connor as well. Guys, you correct me if I get the recap wrong. This won't be a hard one at all. The witches suddenly see a glowing beach home, about 5,000 square foot beach home estate, and they are drawn to it. It is not well done. It looks like some sort of AI art with lots of light bulbs to make it appear like it's glowing. They arrive on the porch of this house, which we're not really sure why they wanted to go to the house anyway, but they do. And when they get to the porch, for some reason it's night again. So, well, there's that. They go through the house, and it's back to being whatever that is, dusk, giant, glowy sun in the horizon kind of thing. And once they're in the house, they essentially realize that they're in some sort of strange escape room that's being run by some sort of entity that we don't know about. And if they complete these tasks that they're given in the escape room, then they will get to continue on their journey, of which we have no idea why we should care about the journey, because we don't know what's at the end of the journey, and we don't care about any of these characters because we haven't had any time with them to understand why they matter. Am I doing okay so far, guys? Anything wrong with that one?
I'd say it's right, except for the fact that all of the dialogue sound like it's being read by people who are not in the same room, despite the fact that they are all very visibly in the same room.
There are very awkward moments written into the script where they walk 2 feet away from the rest of the group and they carry on a conversation that the rest of the group would hear, but it's as if the rest of the group doesn't hear it. It's very, very strange. This had the feeling to me of Modern Family. Is that a good comparison to what this was like?
I feel like they had tried to pull off that to some extent. But honestly, the dialogue, not only was it, obviously would have been awkward had, they all been in the same room, which they were, but it was once again, very stilted. And I really don't feel anybody's terribly involved in their character except for maybe Catherine Hahn. There were moments
it's kind of strange to me, Culture, because it feels like we're watching a high school play.
Yeah.
And I know that these people have to be more talented than high school thespians.
Yeah.
I would hope that their talent is above the level they're displaying here.
I mean, we're talking extreme overacting at times, and then completely, disconnected from the words they're speaking. And Marvin sighed, which means he has something profound to say.
No, I mean, look, last week, I think everybody was saying this is a show made for, wine-soaked rich ladies who, who spent their day going to Tupperware parties or whatever. And I didn't really think that it was that much like that, but this was that. I mean, between the wine and the essential oils and the skincare jokes and the upholstery and just everything about this was Jack Schaefer writing a show for herself to watch.
Yeah, it really is. And what's funny is I didn't believe any of this. My suspension of disbelief, and I know that on a show like this, you never really lose that suspension of disbelief. But the first line that I thought that was given with any reality and truth to it was when they made the explanation of what a sous vide is. That was at that moment, 25 minutes into the third episode, I finally feel like people stopped acting and started actually being in the show. It was very strange that. So
it was this was also the week where they decided we're going to show how funny we are, guys. We need to show that women are funny.
That didn't go well then.
It was the every joke bombed. Every joke. Every joke.
Jokes?
There were attempts at jokes. There were so many attempts at jokes.
There was jokes about the skincare line. That didn't go over.
No, it didn't land because you would have had to have been paying very close attention in the second episode to catch on that was her brand.
That
Well, you would
Hansel
also
and
have to
Gretel
catch the
joke at the
line.
end.
Yeah,
The oven
I
thing,
like
yeah.
that one. That
Hot
was
dog.
yeah, and then they go into the oven, which there's some offhand line where she says it looks like it's one of my client's house, and then you see her product there, and that is the only reason that I even understood what that joke was supposed to be. I don't know.
Okay, so at this point, I don't understand who. I mean, I can make guesses, but I don't understand who is in charge of the witch's trial. I don't get who is the dungeon master here. I have my thoughts on who it is, but I also don't care who it is because this isn't interesting to me.
They want you to think it's Mephisto. They name drop Mephisto
Again.
in there.
I could not
Again.
believe the only Marvel thing to happen in the entire thing was they name drop Mephisto.
Well, there was some indication that they're trying to play a mystery box with the kid, and they literally have someone call him Teen, as if that's what you call a teenage boy who happens.
She was calling him that last week too.
Yeah,
weird, very strange.
Weird.
well, they
very
can't say
unnatural.
his name. He can't say his name because he's got a sigil on him. You know. And look, she says this looks like this looks like someplace my clients would be, and then they're all dressed like her clients, and then this was her mystery. This was her escape room. Each of them are going to have an escape room.
So they then
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
They have to drink wine. We don't know why they have to drink the wine, but they have to drink the wine. We don't know what will happen if they don't drink the wine. They all choose to drink the wine. And the wine makes them look as if they've been injected with Botox to extremes. That's supposed to be funny. It's really not.
They all look like Madonna.
Right. They look like Madonna. And then, but immediately they know exactly which poison they have just imbibed. And they know exactly how to fix the problem. And so they all go off, despite the fact that the kitchen is right there and all the ingredients are in the kitchen. They all go off on these little adventures inside this house, which is not big enough to have adventures. It's a game of Clue as they go to find the mystery items to bring back to put into the sink. We'll get to that in just a moment. So they go off and they try to find these items. And as they go off to find the items, they have disjointed hallucinations where for some of them it seems to be attached to their childhood in some way or some traumatic event, although we don't know these people, so we have no way of attaching to that. For others, it's just creepy people. So for the darker skinned lady, there's a light-skinned, creepy man who puts her head in the sink, and that's
You have to think that's
thing.
the one that's got to be the guy that bound her magic. So we're gonna have the white man took your agency from you.
Oh, thank you, Marvin. I hadn't thought of how horrible that could be. Yes, yep,
Yep.
you're probably right. Thanks, Marvin. So they may have edited that at some point and said, you know what, we're not going to go that far because of what's been going on lately here with Disney ratings going down. Not going to save them, but. After their hallucinations, they come back. They dump all of their special ingredients into the sink for no good reason. Just like we're bringing in Ron E. Bradley, but you know what? We have a good reason to do that. That's because we like him. You like him. He's here now. Ron, we'll get your thoughts in just a minute. We're doing the recap. So they dump all their stuff into the sink. We get a sous vide joke, I guess.
Ugh.
That's really
No,
bad.
it's just exposition. It's not even a joke.
Yeah.
Like they literally just throw it in there to say, yes, this is a kitchen gadget that you can use to do this thing. I feel like Jack Schaefer or whoever wrote that felt like they were very clever.
Oh
but
yes,
it's very much it's a thing that's a sign of affluence, I suppose. Even though you don't have to be that rich to buy one.
It's just yet another thing to dangle the keys in front of the intended audience for this of the wine moms. Of here's your wine and your essential oils and your sous vide and oh my goodness, like it was just I was
so
just
they
like,
put all
who
their
is this?
They put all their ingredients into the sink, and the sink becomes a jacuzzi with all of the light displays that you would hope with your garish jacuzzi. And they stir it, and then they realize that they are missing one ingredient that they could have known all along, but they just realized at the end for plot because they need something to create tension. So boom, and they immediately know what the answer is. They don't have to think about it. It's immediately obvious to them, and that is they need Teen, the underage fellow, to have his self cut, and they need his blood. And of course, he is willing to do so without any drama, because the drama was that they didn't know the ingredient for 2 seconds, then immediately knew it. Whereas with the good writing, he would have been hesitant to let them cut him and draw his blood. That would have been the obvious way to do this, but this is not an obvious show. So he does that, and we get sparkle magic inside the sink, and they drink the stuff from the sink, and they're all healed. Oh wait, but they forgot about their what would you say, the goofy one, and she's dying. So they go take her some magic sink water, get it in her mouth, and in the last second, they're all saved. Water then starts flooding the house, so they jump into the oven, and the oven takes them back to the Witch's Road. And that is a Marvel show description I never thought I would give. Ron, welcome to the show. Your thoughts on what we just encountered?
Man.
Well, clearly I got trapped in the house. Yeah, I thought this background appropriate for the show. It was not. This just isn't made for the typical Marvel audience. This is made for a sliver, a very tiny sliver of. I'm like, if I wasn't being forced to watch this show, here's my own personal take. I would have started to watch this show, and probably would have been out after the first episode. I don't think I would have watched the second episode, because this has literally, it's again, the problem with WandaVision is WandaVision started out phenomenal, ended up mediocre, but not horrible. I mean, at that point in time, we had a big MCU drought, so we were all looking for something, right? And then you have 3 different spin-offs that have come from that, to the best of my knowledge. You have the Marvels and Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and this. And it's like with each one of those spin-offs, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And it's like, it's kind of sad, really, because in Paul Bettany, if they would have followed the Vision's character first, and that White Vision or whatever the heck happened to him, boy, that would have been I think you would have had MCU fans in. But this is like, who the heck's this made for?
Well, what's really fascinating is they've counterbalanced this in an amazing way. The guy who wrote Picard season 3 and ran Picard season 3, which is one of the best things in Star Trek since like 2006. He is actually in charge of the Vision show. And that's been a recent development. So that one sounds like it might actually be amazing.
Terry Metalis is who we're talking about there.
Yeah, Terry Metalis.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, but this is definitely agony all along.
Yeah.
This I don't know really how to classify this one, because it's at least interesting, although unenjoyable. So at least there's some sort of weird thing going on here that had me watching it. And the colors were not so washed out that I couldn't see what was going on, because they're in this beach home. And yet, there's no reason for me to have enjoyed any of this, and none of the characters learned anything of value, and I didn't learn anything about any of the characters that has any value to me. And the effort to make there be a story behind Agatha just doesn't hit. I know who Teen is. It's as obvious as you can possibly get. Culture, what do you think about the reveal that Agatha had a baby and she turned the baby over to the dark side for hours?
I honestly just don't care. I'm no longer invested in this Agatha character. I'm not. There's not one character in this show I'm invested in.
Why did they not spend at least one episode, Culture, letting us have some reason to care about these characters? There's literally no reason to care about any of them.
Well,
there's nothing that we know about them that matters.
In the end, they want you to care about a particular character, but I mean, that's as pointless.
Do they? Because they make a joke immediately.
Well, Agatha makes a joke.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, they don't. You don't get to appreciate that, because you didn't get to appreciate the character in the first place. It did no development. So, now I'm like, okay, one of the better actresses that are on this show is, where?
Well, I think it's okay for us to use spoilers here. I mean, let's just talk about it.
Oh, okay. So Sharon, the character that's played by, that 70s mom.
Deborah Jo Rupp, yeah.
She's playing a doofus.
Yeah, she's no longer the doofus because she ain't no longer with them anymore. She climbed in the she didn't climb in the oven. She was carried through the oven. She must not have got the magic blood of of Wiccan.
You think she's
time.
really gone, or you think it's
Well,
you think it's
they
fake?
didn't.
No way.
They didn't put her hair in the potion, so I would assume it didn't work on her.
Yeah. Well, I also would assume that we're about to get what's her name back. The only reason that I even considered watching this show. Audrey Plaza. Yeah.
Female Mephisto.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, she's supposed to be their last one because in the first episode she had that really hacky line about I have a heart but it's black, and then Patti LuPone said that the last name that she wrote in there was a black heart as what was supposed to be her their last witch. So it's supposed to be Aubrey Plaza.
Well, we're gonna end up
there.
like I said,
Right.
we're gonna end up with an escape room for each one of these people.
Oh no! Oh no!
And
I can't listen. If we've agreed to watch bad escape rooms, episode after episode, that's gonna be tough.
Culture's right though. I've heard that from several sources.
So I'm already disinterested in this concept because this one was so poorly executed, right? And the ticking clock didn't even have to be anything other than the urgency for which to solve for poison. And I get it. It's a mechanism to move everything forward in an expedient manner. But as I was following it, I was just like,
Okay, here's some questions. I'm going to ask the panel some questions, basic questions that any show with any kind of writing ability behind it would be able to answer, and the audience would know immediately, so that we can care. Okay, so question number one: why are we at the Witch's Road? What are we doing?
They want power. Agatha wants power, right? That's the whole thing.
The Asian
Why are the other witches
wants
there?
to know. She wants to know what happened to her mom. The other one wants to be unbound.
Right, exactly. Pro, were you not paying attention when she went through one by one and said everyone's character motivation?
Just hang with me for a moment.
That's good writing right there, where you clearly spell out everyone's character motivations.
but I feel
Everyone
like-
says them out loud, and that's how you know it's a good show, because you know exactly what everybody wants.
But here's the weird thing, Jonas. It's like they believe that most people skip the first 2 episodes to get to this one because it was mentioned during the recruiting era of the
Why
show.
would they do that? Why would anyone do that?
Okay, but hold on, guys.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. Just a couple simple questions that would help me understand this show. Who is in charge of the Witch's Road? Like, where does the power come from that does this thing? Like, who's behind it? Who's the dungeon master? Like, what is this?
Sif Todd.
Yes.
Central Florida Tourism Oversight District for Witches.
Central Westview.
Mephisto? I don't know.
Like, there's got to be something, there's just this disembodied realm that witches go through that have, there's no mind linked to it, and yet it produces for us these trials. Like, what is this?
And
what is this we're watching?
I'm
Yes,
assuming
well-
this is not at all related to comics or anything.
Within lore, the goddess of witchcraft is in charge of the Witch's Road, at least
Okay.
in Marvel Comics.
Who's that? Who's that Culture?
I can't answer that question because
Is
I
she
had
in
to
the
look
show
it up.
Culture? Do we have
No.
like?
Well, the goddess of witchcraft is accompanied by chaos. So who is?
Okay, I
who
saw
is-
that.
Who's
Is chaos a celestial?
Well, no, I don't know, but I know chaos is the kind of magic that guess who has it?
Scarlet Witch.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Scarlet Witch.
No, sir. Chaos magic is Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh,
How
right.
dare you?
It's Scarlet Witch.
Speaking of which, they just started releasing Sonic and Shadow anime on the Sonic YouTube channel, and that's way better than this.
All right. So we lost the only comedy we had.
Bad
We
comedy
have-
though. I didn't think I could ever not think she was funny.
Deborah
But
Jo
the-
Rupp? Yeah.
Yeah, her the material they were giving her was hack.
There was
me in this
There was dude, she lost her purse at the beginning of the freaking episode. I'm like, it's like, hey, lady, that's like quicksand. So, like, if your purse is a goner, don't you also volunteer to become a goner?
Well, the other problem was She apparently doesn't have powers. That'll probably change by the end of the series. But she seemingly had no powers. She seemingly didn't understand where she was. She thought she was just going to suburban party. And she wasn't reacting like someone who has no powers and who has been brought into a suburban party. So she was basically just there for chuckles, but they're like inside joke chuckles. And the problem is that you can't have inside joke chuckles if nobody's having a good time in the first place.
It seemed to me that they were like, we need comedy in this show because it's Marvel and Marvel's got to be funny. Oh, let's put the mom from that 70s show in here. She's funny. And then they didn't write anything funny for her.
Yeah. It's Culture, go ahead. Your numerical score, 0 to 10. How's episode 3 stand?
So far, this is the best episode. I think this is the best episode so far. It gets a 2.
2. Ron, 0 out of 10. What say you?
Oh, I give it a 4. It was passable background watching.
I'm going to give it a 3. As I said, I can actually see this episode. And that's where the bar is. I could see this episode because there's light in it, and
lighting.
There was no awkward buttocks for 0 reason in here. So hey, yay, no buttocks. Marvin,
Lighting.
They did not break into song, so I will give it a 3.
And I was really worried. There were points where I was worried we were getting another song, and I thought, please, nobody has told me. None of my contacts have told me this is a musical. I don't have to suffer through that until Mufasa. Please no. Yes, folks, Mufasa will be a musical. All right,
I predict a musical number in the next episode.
Oh no, okay. Jonas.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give this one. I think I gave last week's a 4. So this one at the end, there was some brief sign that there might have been a show here. So I'm gonna give this a 5.5.
How?
Oh my God.
Oh, 5.5. I thought you were going to be like, I want to give it a 5, but 4.5. You went to 5.5.
5.5.
Well, I started thinking about the fact that the horrible
That's better than
lightsaber
average,
episode,
Jonas. 5 is in the middle. 5's an average.
Oh, if we're grading on
Are you
Marvel
grading this like
television
you're back in high school? 7's passing?
50%. That's what I'm giving this. I'm giving this a 50%.
You gave it a 50.5. Okay, anyway. It's too late now to take it back. So average score for the episode 3, folks, 3.5 out of 10. This is a 3.5 out of 10, which just about doubles both of the first 2 episodes, but no one is going to be watching this.
They were dressed better.
3.5.
They were dressed better this episode.
Well, some of them were dressed. That's a plus.
Has anybody checked for life signs on Lorne?
I think we should check, folks. Let's see if Lorne has survived his experience, and we'll find out. We'll do the door, but you know who's behind the door.
Who could that be? Let's go see, boys and girls.
All right, Lorne Connor is with us now, and Lorne, you can help save poor Agatha. Right now, it has a 3.5, but we're gonna bring you back in to see if you can change the score. And Lorne, you get a privilege none other has had. Since you've come in just in the nick of time, share with us your thoughts on episodes 1, 2, and 3. The folks out there are pleased to know that you have finally watched all of this. Tell us what your thoughts are going into it, and are we being perhaps too harsh?
It's kind of hard for me to say because you guys had prepped me for something that was truly execrable, and I'm just bored. I don't think that it's enough to make me feel like this is the worst thing ever. It's just I'm constantly looking at the clock, wondering, is this over yet? Do I have to keep doing this? I think what I would say is I thought the first episode was really, really bad. I really did not like the first episode at all. A lot of that I attribute to the fact that you had Catherine Hahn trying to do a Harvey Bullock impression. And it came off as just the most off-putting performance that I think I could ever imagine. I hated episode 1. But episode 2, I actually thought was quite a bit better. And I'm actually going to disagree with you on the musical number. I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay. And in fact, if I had to point out anything positive about the show, I think that it's well shot. I think that it has fine cinematography, and I like the music. Everything else is just boring.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Lauren. Hold on. You like the music?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the score is actually not terribly bad.
The song, Lauren.
I didn't have a problem with the song. I thought compared to what little I've seen of the Acolyte Witches chant, it seemed to me like that was a far better musical performance than what you saw there. Yeah, you guys had prepared me for this.
I will actually back Lauren up. I don't like the scene where they do the musical number. I think that's terrible and out of place and just cringy. But the song itself, I'm like, yeah, nothing wrong with the song. I think it's kind of fine.
Yeah, and if you compare it to, say, other Disney musical numbers, say, in the animated features, it's not that far apart from it. So I didn't see it as being that big of a detraction considering what the show is and where it's coming from. The cardinal sin of the show is it's boring. I don't care about any of these characters, and everything that's going to be a plot point is so far telegraphed in advance that there's nothing really to generate any kind of narrative tension. It's
a show made for dummies. That fair, Lauren?
Yeah, it's just boring. It's very hard to keep your attention on the screen. I actually keep looking for other things to occupy my attention so that I don't fall asleep.
Okay, so Lauren, from a standpoint of someone who maybe they're watching and they want to know how to write a better script, what is it that makes you not care about these characters?
I don't feel anything in common with them. They are not human people. They are characters in a typical Marvel production. And so it's difficult to have empathy for characters that are a caricature.
They're caricatures.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to have something that makes you human and relatable. And none of these characters are.
These are cartoons come to life.
Yep. That's okay. It in a nutshell.
Lauren, for episodes 1 and 2, what would you have given the score?
Gosh, 1, I think, would have to be a 1. 2,
now you're talking, Lauren. Now you're cooking with fire. Okay, episode 2.
1 was awful. 1 was absolutely awful. 2, it was better. I guess I'd give it a 2. 3, I'd give maybe a 2.5. Maybe. I think I was more bored by episode 3 than I was.
Lauren. You talk a big game, and then you start throwing around numbers like we do.
Well, I think, I'm not saying the show's good. I'm just saying that
Lord comes in and says, "You guys said this was miserable. I watched it. It's boring, but it's not awful. I give it a -27."
Well, again,
if you take Lauren's score and you double it, it's still not Jonas's score.
Well, I mean. Honestly, I was prepared for something that was going to what you have told me about the Acolyte has me absolutely petrified.
Oh, you're gonna
I'm prepared to be really, really angry about the Acolyte.
You know what? You know why you're going to hate the Acolyte?
You said this was worse, and so I was prepared for something really, really bad.
Episode 1 was worse, but episode 2 was a little bit better. Here's the thing, though, Lauren. The Acolyte got progressively worse the longer it went. But the reason that I think you're going to suffer with the Acolyte when you finally watch it for that charity stream we've been talking about is because you actually care about Star Wars and about the lore. And it's going to just rip it to shreds. You don't care about these characters, and neither do we, because not only do we not care about the characters, but nothing they're doing will have any impact on the MCU whatsoever. Zero, none, nada. And you can basically, even if you thought, Mephisto's going to show up and Mephisto's going to have this big thing to do with all this. No. There's the multiverse. So there's like 1 billion trillion Mephistos and 1 billion trillion Agathas, and none of it matters. Nobody cares. So there's nothing to attach to on this whatsoever. So that's why you'll hate the Acolyte way worse when you finally watch it.
Now, can I point out 2 things that I actually did think were sort of clever about Agatha, and that I did kind of like? There were 2 things that got sort of a half chuckle. I think I kind of went, in episode, I think it was episode 1, when they have the body with the toe tag and it's Wanda and she's got the library card as the toe tag. I
Right.
thought that was kind of clever. That was kind of funny. And I thought that it showed that Elizabeth Olsen was very smart by staying as far away from this as she possibly could. The other thing that I thought
You mean
was
that
funny,
wasn't her toes? I'm shocked.
yeah. The other thing that I thought actually was kind of funny in this week's episode was when Jen, I think it is, they all go through the transformation when they get to the house and she looks in the mirror and she says, "I look like one of my customers." I thought that was funny. That was actually some clever bit of writing.
I thought you were going to say when Mrs. Hart died, because that's when I went.
All right. Well, Lauren, you watched the third episode. You're going to help us adjust the score. What did you give to episode 3 for its final numerical score? Remember, 0 is awful, 5 is average, 10 is absolute perfection.
3 is a difficult one for me to score because, in a way, I think it's a better episode than the first 2, but I was more bored by it. I liked episode 2 more than episode 3. So I guess, I don't know. We're going to keep it even. I'll say, am I really going to do that? We'll say 2.5. 2.5 for episode 3.
All
double
right.
double that score and then add another half to it, and you've got Jonas's score.
Yeah, I feel like
You
like
guys need to
Jonas-
get over it. You guys need to get over it. There's production value on the show.
I feel
Look,
like I
look,
feel like
it is a
Jonas-
Hold on, I got to pull
miracle.
that down. I got to fix it.
I feel
you
like
guys.
Jonas, you're like the West German judge.
You are.
First of all,
There we go.
it's a miracle that they even got this on screen. There's something there for the people who put together the pretty good makeup on all these actresses to make them look like they had Botox or whatever. There's a lot here that is not necessarily the incredibly disjointed performances that these otherwise
What
talented
did
actresses.
the Botox matter, though? Like, it's just a
Yeah,
stupid
it was there
gag. It has
and
no
gone.
connection
It's
with the
It's
story.
a
hilarious.
stupid gag, but it doesn't mean the crew didn't do a good job.
No, but we're not judging this for the crew earning their paycheck. And I think that's the problem here is that what you're judging this on is basic competence. You know, you need to judge this based on, is it telling a good story? And I think you can profoundly say, no, it's not. All it's doing is wasting our time.
Let me tell you, Lauren came in here all sweetsy. He came in rainbows and sunshine to take care of this thing. And he pulled out daggers fast. He pulled out daggers on Agatha. Look out.
I love
that's
how
a review
everyone's saying
score.
I'm channeling Chris Stuckman by giving it a 5.
Final
I have
review
a
score, folks.
question.
3.3 for episode 3. It's 3s all aboard. And yes, that's repeating for those of you who are Leroy Jenkins fans. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, it just seems like what they're doing is they're using a plot device of this escape room thing, and I've heard that too. That every episode is going to be an escape room, and it gives them the opportunity to change up the scenery, change up the clothes, change up everything. It seems like they're using that instead of character development for in other words, if we can't figure out a way to get the audience to care about these characters. So to keep the audience engaged, we're going to change everything every show and make the scenes different. And that's how they're trying to move the plot along. It just, for me personally, that's not the best way to tell a story. I feel like this is made for maybe an audience that grew up with Wizards of Waverly Place and now they're 10 years older. That's
a good
just
point.
what it feels
Here's
like.
what I think they did, Ron. I think they sat down and said, how are we going to make the Agatha story? It's a spinoff of WandaVision. For WandaVision, every episode was set in a different sitcom. So what are we going to do here? And somebody said, oh, I know. She'll go to different escape rooms every episode and we'll change the style that way. So it'll be just like WandaVision. And then they said, well, we can't do that in the first 2 episodes. We're kind of stuck there. And they were like, oh, wait. The first episode will be a completely disjointed fever dream with no reason for it to exist. Bingo, we got it.
Oh,
Well, you know,
It's,
I think one of the most interesting things that the show has introduced so far was actually the Salem 7. You know, and when they started to appear and attack the house at the end of episode 2, I sort of started sitting up and taking notice and thinking, oh, maybe we're going to do something interesting here. And I'm sure they'll pop back up. But the problem with an episode like this week's is that you put them in this house, you give them all terrifying visions of the things that they are most afraid of. And I don't care. and I don't care because I don't care about the characters.
Mhm.
If I had some kind of a tie to them, if I cared about how they felt, if I knew something about their background, which is what these scenes are for, it's to try and foreshadow and show you that they all have these dark, mysterious things in their past that you're really going to care about. But if I don't care about them now, then I don't care about the vision. It doesn't hit. It doesn't land.
They're stuck with something that they because of the format, Lauren. They're stuck with this very short window to tell all these character stories, and they couldn't get into the show properly to begin with. They wasted 2 episodes as vehicles to get you somewhere into the show itself, so you could be in these escape rooms for the next several episodes. And I think that, you know, it's also borrowing, as Ron said, from the previous, devices utilized by WandaVision, bringing you into a different, style surroundings and having all these characters deal with whatever this is, even though it's only solely directed at one of these witches. So for this one, it was what did you say her name was? Jen? Yeah, that was her.
Which one is Jen?
She's the water witch.
Candle
Oh,
witch.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey,
the potions.
I have a real fear that the Salem 7 are going to start hanging out with the Knights of Ren and never come back, just like they did.
Yeah, well, what's her name? Rio or Agatha? Not Agatha. See, this is the other problem. Aubrey Plaza, her
That's
character is Rio, and she's probably one of the Salem 7. It reminds me of when I was watching The Day After Tomorrow. Which back in the day, I always loved going to see a good, awful movie. In the middle of that, they're just walking through someplace, and then some wolves show up. Why do the wolves show up? I don't know. There's no motivation. They're not in a place where there would be wolves, but it's there. They're there basically to add a little tension until you can get to the next scene. That's what I saw when the Salem 7 showed up in episode.
Jack Schaefer should have watched a far superior show, American Horror Story Coven.
Oh, such a good
He
show.
probably did, actually.
Well, it doesn't show. Okay,
Jonas?
I mean, it's just it. I look at better shows all the time. All the show had to do was mimic that instead of mimicking them all in little bits and doing it in an inferior way. I look. Shows need to inspire you to watch them. You know, it's one of the reasons why I have a hard and fast rule, and you guys have probably heard this before if you've followed my channel, but I will watch a show. I'll watch 3 episodes. You have 3 episodes to hook me on a show. I would never go back to this show because I don't care.
Well, I think it won't be on the Nielsen charts. I don't think it's going to show up on Nielsen.
No,
Well, they didn't do their typical Marvel thing where they tout the numbers, after the first week.
I think that the only shot they have at the Nielsen at this point, maybe with the first 2 episodes, they can hit the 10th spot on a subcategory. But the only chance of really showing up on Nielsen in any way they could tout is the final. They're bundling 2 episodes there, and they might get people binge watching for Halloween who don't know better. That's it. Other than that, this is dead.
But where's the buzz? Okay, I mean, you say buzz. That. Yeah, there's no hype. Nobody's even... and you know what? The stone cold defense they tried to put up didn't even work. They tried to set up a shield wall behind the gayest show ever, and we just mocked it.
Yeah. So during the Acolyte, I would show all kinds of clips. That would be on X already, and people were reacting. I can't. There's nobody talking about it. I mean, I'll show you. This is the best we got. If I switch over to here, there's one person playing a clip of this thing, and this is it. Nobody's talking about this on X. Nobody's talking about this anywhere. So if nobody cares about it, I mean, we're having fun dissecting it here, and people are here to get our take on the state of Marvel. But in terms of people being here to find out, we got to go check the Agatha after party with Pro and the gang because we're going to find out what happens to Agatha. And, is Mephisto going to show up? Nobody's here for that. We're all here for a post-mortem. It's a Marvel post-mortem. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end yet again. Another video of pure excellence. Well, we would appreciate it if perhaps you could click that like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, hit the notification bell, drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts. And folks, until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, we hope you are finding better things to watch than Agatha. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
This is Wilton the Troll reporting for That's Park Place, and I'm surrounded by loving and adoring people who are peacefully trying to make sure that poor kids aren't cold in the winter. And just behind me, you can see a totally natural bonfire for baking cookies or making marshmallows.
Yeah, so, Wilson, we really appreciate the effort and stuff, but we're looking for real and, accurate news reporting on that Park Place.
So not like most news outlets, huh?
No.